We'll start with Urban Meyer today because yet another story is leaked with him. Even though he's been out of the league now for months, we're getting more and more reports about just what the environment, what the culture was like in Jacksonville with Urban as the head coach. And guys, it just seems to get worse and worse every single time. Just some of the stories here. Urban made one player cry in the locker room or during a meeting, and other players had to console the certain individual after Meyer left. He pushed DJ Chark to run another drill, and he broke his finger on the play. It's kind of a win at all costs, rule by fear, lead by fear mentality that Meyer embraced, and it did not work. It did not work at all. And something interesting about this is that Meyer he came from Ohio State, Florida. He came from the world of college football where he was in control. He was in total control and he ran those programs. In the NFL, players don't respond the same way as college kids. Like, you're a grown man in the NFL. The playing football is your job at that point. And Meyer, to me, was never able to make the distinction of, okay, these aren't college athletes anymore. These are grown ass men who can handle themselves and deserve to be treated like professionals. I don't even want to think about what it was like playing for Urban in college, but that was just something that he Urban never watched the NFL. On Sunday, he would study film for Ohio State. He went into the 6-month deep dive, he called it, where he was watching all the NFL games, trying to study up on players. And that's why you see in these reports that he didn't know who Aaron Donald was, or he didn't know who Jamal Adams was, which I find hard to believe because just any casual football fan knows the name Aaron Donald. But Urban wasn't an NFL coach. He knew nothing about it, and we shouldn't be surprised that failed. But Ziggy, I know you have some thoughts on this. The reports that came out today, are they surprising to you, or or is it more jarring?
I'll say what's surprising. You said that some news stories leaked about Urban Meyer, but what's amazing to me is that's not true. The Athletic who broke this was able to get an active NFL player, DJ Chark, to go on the record to talk about
Yeah,
this.
you're right. You're right.
That tells you just how terrible what this was. Like, it tells you how terrible players liked it. And the players were more professional than Meyer, right? You've got Urban Meyer just fuming about it, and players are keeping it behind closed doors. But there's two stories that stand out to me. One they mentioned is when NFL players, like in preseason games, you're sort of just learning the playbook and going through things. One cornerback screwed up a single play. And Urban Meyer said if it ever happened again, he would cut every single player on the team. Like, that just shows that he is completely out of his depth, because that's not practical in the NFL level. You know, in Ohio State, maybe he could follow through on that, right? He could cut every single starter, and 4- and 5-star recruits would go right through that door to fill it in. But in the NFL, you got a salary cap, you've got irreplaceable players. Like, the coach's job in many cases is less stable than the jobs of some players. Right? Like, nobody would think that Kirby Smart's job is less stable than JT Daniels. But it sure as heck turned out that Urban Meyer's job was less stable than Trevor Lawrence's. The second story that stands out, John Brown ran a route and screwed things up, and Trevor Lawrence goes back after practice to run it through him again a couple times and show it. And Urban Meyer yells over to Trevor. Let me get the exact quote here, because I don't want to get it wrong. Trevor, you got to slow it down for him. These boys from the South, their transcripts ain't right. Now, Trevor Lawrence is from the South and went to Clemson, and Urban Meyer, as you may or may not know, was the head coach of a football program in the South. The University of Florida is, in fact, in the southern half of the United States. No, it's not surprising. Urban Meyer, we knew he was a clown from the beginning. We really knew he was a clown when he jetted off to go grind in a bar instead of flying home with his team after a bad loss. The dude just had no idea what he was doing.
I don't like at all that I'm seeing. He said, "I hate scouts. Scouts are lazy," in meetings with scouts present in the room. Like, just a total lack of awareness and or total disrespect. I don't. He was probably aware. He's just a total lack of respect for everyone in that organization. It seemed, and it's weird when you see his daughter come out and defend him and stuff. Like, no one knows my real dad and all that. Well, I don't know. It seems like most people know who he is. It seems like his true colors have been revealed.
Well, and here's the thing, is Urban Meyer could have gotten away with a lot of this if they were winning games, if his program somehow worked. But a program like this is never going to work in the NFL. No one's ever done it. It's why you see so many of these college coaches screw up. Really, I think as much of the blame lies with the Jacksonville Jaguars ownership and anyone else, you had to know this was coming. I don't know. It's stunning.
Yeah, no, I mean, as a coach, you're gonna have to lead by example. And when you're like talking like down to players, like another quote was, I guess probably after a loss or after a bad practice, he said, "You couldn't get a job paying more than $15 an hour," which is just like horrible to say, obviously. And that's when a lot of like the respect was lost in the locker room to Urban Myers, and some of the players even confronted him. But even being confronted, he never changed. And what I think is, I guess, what got him fired was obviously like the girl in the bar, they were losing games, but he never took accountability, even when he was wrong.
Winning masks a lot of problems, and when you're losing, those problems are brought into the limelight, and they're often the result of your termination. Something like this.
Yeah, I mean, Urban Meyer very clearly, in one game, I can't remember which game it was, but it was in December. I think it was against the Rams, actually. James Robinson fumbled on the opening possession. Urban Meyer basically benched him for the whole game. He said, "Don't let James Robinson come back in." Then after the game, when
do you remember that? Fantasy owners, I remember fantasy football owners.
I remember
James
that.
Robinson were saying, "What the hell's going on?"
that was back when I was a Rams fan. It was very exciting to see the one good player on the Jaguars offense. They just decided not to play him for a snap. People thought he was hurt, right? Because it was so inexplicable.
Yeah, it was
then
crazy.
After the game, Urban Meyer just blames the position coach. And then afterwards, in a meeting the next morning, Urban Meyer just tells his coaches to their faces that he never told them to bench James Robinson. You know, there was a time he blamed players in a press conference and held a meeting with players saying, "I never blamed you." But another player on his phone had a video playing of Urban Meyer saying the exact thing that Meyer insisted he didn't. I don't know if Urban Meyer believed it, like he was just wildly delusional, or he was just so used to getting away with doing whatever he wanted. Maybe some of both, but he clearly just did not know how to respond of not being the alpha dog immediately in Jacksonville. I guess he thought they were winning a Super Bowl this year.
Well, we've said this before. We talked about this quote from Eric Kendricks. After Mike Zimmer was fired, he said fear-based culture just never worked for us here. Like when I walk down the hallway, I want to be able to say hello to someone without, fearing retribution. And that might be an exaggeration from Kendricks, but I do think that we're moving more towards, if you were to look at it like a more general society, of one that people don't want to be involved in fear-based cultures. People like being able to talk with each other and being social. Now the NFL, I get it. It's tough, like tough love. I played football in third grade and I didn't like it. So I'm not one to talk on it too much, but fear-based culture, I've never been a fan of it at all.
No, and fear-based culture isn't synonymous with being strict. You look like what Bill Belichick does to the New England Patriots. There might not be a stricter coach in the NFL. If you make mistakes, he'll bench you. If you keep screwing things up, he'll let you know.
But it's not
very
demeaning.
strict. He demands a lot. No, it's not demeaning. It's because he knows you can do a good job.
Yeah.
And he wants the best for you. And you see it. He makes funny jokes. Like, he lets players have fun when it's time to have fun. Like, you can have high expectations and expect a lot from professional players without cultivating a culture of fear, without being
a total
an asshole. Yeah, no, Urban Meyer's
there's
just...
a big difference between tough love and expecting like a lot from your players when you know they could perform at a high level. And then there's like a difference between being an asshole, and that's what Urban Myers is doing.
I will bet you Urban Meyer coaches again in college. I truly believe within 2 years he is the head coach of the University of Texas.
He just brings so many eyes to him that even like, I don't know if he can go to a bigger school, but maybe like more of a mid-major college. Just the college will hire him.
Urban Meyer's not going to a mid-major. He would never go to a mid-major.
Yeah, no. He'll coach
the fact is, Urban Meyer, what he does works.
His track
really
record
well
is too good in college. His track record,
and it works.
Yeah, but he also had Tim Tebow, one of the best college players of all time.
Yeah, but he did it at Ohio State too.
Yeah,
and he did it at what was the other one? Utah.
He did well there too. Everywhere
Did well
Urban
everywhere.
Meyer goes, they win a lot of games. And, you can say, gee, it seems like a lot of the best players in college football history played for Urban Meyer. Yeah, that's not a coincidence. Urban Meyer brings in the best talent and coaches them very well in
Great
college.
recruiter. Yeah, great recruiter.
Yeah, it's, these kinds of things will hurt, but the fact is one school or another is going to want to make a big splash hire. And there's still no bigger name in college football than Urban Meyer.
Except Nick Saban.
Honestly, I think it's legitimately close. Nick Saban is without a doubt more successful.
It's Saban, Meyer. Everywhere.
I do not think there's a big gap.
No, maybe it was around even back in like the Florida.
No.
days.
I think it's like a clear 1-2, and then there's a pretty big drop off.
I think it's 1A, 1B. But if Urban Meyer ever comes back, we'll see.
That's a debate for another day.